Okay, so module 8, pricing and support. We're going to talk now about a couple of different things, right? So first and foremost is that we're going to talk about the pricing and support models, and also a little bit about the free tier, a little bit about cost estimation for AWS, and then we're going to talk about some of the billing tools. Be forewarned that people are like, why is everything so expensive in AWS? Like I had someone the other day, they were like, how come AWS is charging me for data egress? I don't have to pay that in my data center. And the truth of the matter is that somebody pays for it in your data center. You just don't see it. That's the problem with AWS, is that it kind of reveals to us all the stuff that we didn't see before because somebody else was eating the cost, right? Now, that being said, I'm not saying that Amazon is cheap, although remarkably, most of the services are underpriced for what they do, frankly. It's kind of shocking. But, you know, understanding how it works is the way to understand how to optimize. Like with any system, if you know the caveats of the system and how it works and what it's looking for, that's how you can get the most value for your dollar, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about to a certain degree. Now, how can you budget and pay for AWS services, and how can you find support in third-party software? So let's talk about pricing first. So first thing to know is that when you start an AWS account, you get what's called a free tier. That means some of the services are free forever. Let's take a look at that. So here, if we go actually look for the free tier in AWS, if you want to see the services that are free forever, you can just click on always free, and you'll always get 1 million Lambda execution requests per month. You get 25 gigabytes of DynamoDB data per month for free. CloudFront, get 1 terabyte of data transfer out. Here's Macy. Here's the simple email service. If you want to know what you're going to have for the first 12 months of your account, well, then that's going to be this. So the first 12 months, you get a free Amazon EC2 instance. For the first 12 months, you get S3. For the first 12 months, you get RDS. And notice this is 750 hours per month. So you can run a free instance, 1 per month. Now, some other cloud providers do this better. Some of them do worse. Bottom line is that this is actually a great way for you to kick the tires and test a bunch of things. So you don't really have to do anything to make this work. Amazon will automatically deduct it from your bill. Oh, there's some machine learning stuff here. Cool. So that's the free tier. You create a new account. For 12 months, you get some services free. Other things are free in perpetuity for as long as you have the account. You also have some trials out there as well. Now, AWS is pay as you go. So what do I do if I want to forecast costs? Well, you have 2 options. You have 2 options to forecast costs. One, you can go the old way, which is AWS Simple Monthly Calculator, which is how people have for a long time used it. And it's real easy to use the monthly calculator. For example, if we're using S3 and you want to ring up 1 terabyte of storage, that's going to cost you about $23 a month. If you want to switch that, you want to come off of S3 standard, and you instead want to do deep archive at 1 terabyte per month, that's going to cost you $1. So this is a great way for you to, forecast your costs. Now, not all the services are listed over here on the left-hand side, but a lot of them are. Although why Glacier is its own product, that's a good question. There's a new version of the Glacier calculator. Yeah, I knew there was. Yeah, so this is being retired. Amazon's trying to get rid of this because it's been around forever. But it's actually really good, so people are having trouble with it. But let's say that you wanted to go with something a little bit more advanced, like you wanted to run an EKS cluster. Well, then you have to switch to something called calculator.aws. What you do is you create an estimate, and let's say I'm looking for EKS, right? I'm going to configure it. I'm going to run it in Ohio because that's where I'm predominantly at. I want to run one cluster, and that's going to cost me $73 a month. Now, if I want to add nodes to this cluster, like EC2 nodes, right? I might have to add other things, but if I want to go serverless, I can also do that, right? Oh, you know what? That's not what I wanted. I wanted to add EC2 instances. Let's say if I want to add EC2 instances, right? I can actually at this point choose Linux, choose the number of virtual CPUs, choose my machine if I want to. I can add, 10 or 100 or whatever. Let's say I'm going to do a standard reserve instance for 3 years with all up front. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to add this to my estimate, and then there it is, $103 a month, right? But I have to put $13,000 down to get to $103 a month. So this calculator.aws is a great way to estimate costs. That's what it's used for. Now, if you want to understand the dimensions of pricing for like Lambda, for example, which is only going to pay like per millisecond, then you got to look at your bill and you've got to look at calculator.aws. You won't, or you got to read the documentation. So calculator.aws is perfect because it allows you to see the questions that you have to answers to, that you have to have the answers to in order to be able to calculate billing costs. For example, if we go back to calculator.aws and I want to add a service, and let's say it's Lambda, assuming that Michael can spell Lambda, what will happen is it's like, hey, do you want to include the free tier or without the free tier? But my account doesn't have the free tier, so we're going to let it go. Am I going to use ARM or x86? Well, I'm going to stick with x86. How many requests per month? I'm going to have 10,000. What's the duration of each request? Well, you know what? It's going to be 150 milliseconds. What memory size am I going to use, right? Well, you know what? I'm going to use a 10 gigabyte function because I've done something crazy. Then it's going to show me the calculations that it's doing. And notice that it's rounded down to the 1/1000th of a millisecond here, conversion factor. And I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just doing the service. I'm not going to do provision concurrency. I'm not going to do Lambda at edge. I'm just going to see, hey, what's my cost here? And then it was like, hey, by the way, there's no cost. You know why? Because part of that of what you're doing is you're only running 10,000 requests a month. That's free. I get 1 million requests a month, right? So, even though I ran at 10 gig, it's not actually doing it. It's not charging me because it's still under the free tier coverage, right? So be aware that the console calculator will teach you how to do things like Lambda pricing, EC2 pricing, which is going to charge you for the capacity that you ask for, right? It's going to show up as under different service charges, such as like, the instance hour, the number of storage that you've used, that kind of thing. S3 is going to have the same thing. S3 is going to charge you based on the amount of storage, the number of API calls, and the number of data you've pulled in and out of the system. But you won't be able to just memorize this, right? Now, you should look at this, obviously, at some point for the exam. But this is what the calculator is for, is it teaches you how to find out what Amazon's dimensions of pricing are. Again, you can also read the documentation. This is how S3 shows up on the bill. I got some read requests. I got some write requests or change requests. I've got the amount of storage. I've got, in 2 different regions, right? By the way, this is what they're looking at when they show you that little snapshot there. First of all, let me switch back to my previous role. They're going under the billing dashboard here. And when you go to the billing dashboard, it instantly tells you, hey, this is what you're spending, by the way. Wait, why am I spending $2.20? Isn't that weird? It's not really a thing. So notice that what I did there is that I was at the billing home and I clicked on one of these things, which took me to something called Cost Explorer. But the thing that they were just showing was this billing detail right now. Data transfer, right? Notice that I have 0 in all these places. Elastic Compute Cloud, notice that I was running something in Oregon. Huh, I must have a hard drive still sitting there. Here's Glacier Deep Archive and US East. Apparently I was running some things. Secrets Manager has some keys. I guess I made some API requests at some point. Service catalog. So this is just the bill. Look how much detail I have. I can figure out what's going on in my account. It's not awesome. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's pretty good. Now, this is just the billing detail. And by the way, I can go back and look at other bills if I want to see what's happening. Like this was 0. June was also 0. And by the way, the reason that is that I have a bunch of free credits for Amazon, so they don't charge me anything. Let's see how many credits I spent this month. 41.90 of credits have been applied. This billing home, though, will allow you to see things such as the cost and usage report, which is a detailed, I mean, like super detailed spreadsheet of all of your costs, which is really awesome because you can download this and just analyze it to death if you actually want to get down to the granular level. In addition, they've got tools like Cost Explorer, which will allow you to see your monthly spend by service, which is kind of nice. Notice I don't necessarily have a lot of services here. Let's actually do this for year to date. Oh no, let's not do that. Let's just do it last year. Wow, I think I bought a domain name back then. That must have been really interesting. Another thing. S3, some data transfer. I wonder what I was doing that I incurred data transfer. Notice that also your savings plans are listed here and your reservations are listed here. This is also, by the way, where you can get access to budgets. So if Cost Explorer allows you to explore costs, but also forecast costs, budgets allows you to set limits for either notifications or you can actually stop things from launching. So notice that my overall budget is $100, meaning I don't want to spend really $100 in this account of actual cash because that means I also burn through all my free AWS credits. Here's container, anything. Here's a budget for data stores. Notice these are really low, $12, $15. You would be shocked at how hard it is to spend $100 inside of AWS if you're just running a bunch of proof of concepts and tests and whatnot. It's really hard, actually. Other things that might be of interest to you is that you can get reports on your budgets if you want to create a budget report. And there was one other thing I was going to show you. Oh no, that was it. Oh, you can also see all your payments, right? If you want to see like what's been paid at what time, that kind of thing. The other thing is that they do have cost categories and cost allocation tags. These cost allocation tags allow you to run reports based on the tag dimensions. Just be aware that tagging is super important inside of AWS if you want actual granular control over your reporting. Oh, I guess we were supposed to do a demo. I guess I just did. There you go. That was a little run through of the billing section of the AWS dashboard. Here's a knowledge check. How long are portions of the free tier active for? In other words, there's a time limit. What is the time limit on certain services for how long they're free? That's right, 12 months. That's perfect. Okay. Let's talk about consolidated billing then. So remember earlier when I mentioned organizations and I said how I saved this company $7 million just by turning on organizations? That's what when you turn on organizations, this turns on consolidated billing. What this does is this centralizes all of your bills for all of your accounts into one payer account. And here's, by the way, how this worked when I did this, over at that large enterprise company. Let's say that you're spending about $20 a month on S3, right? Just as an example. And so you got 4 accounts. You got a management account, you got a bunch of accounts, and you're spending it somewhere between $14 and $20, right? So your total charge to the paying account is $73. I just realized that's interesting. 1996 was the year that Amazon was founded. 2006 is the year that AWS launched its first service. I wonder what 1964 is. I think those numbers mean something. Huh. Weirdos. Put that in the slides. That's hilarious. 1964 must be something. Oh, it's probably, you know what? 1964 is probably the year that Jeff Bezos was born. I wonder if that's in the speaker notes. Hold on one second. Hold on. I got to look this up for a second. Oh, it is. Haha. Funny. Those guys are hilarious. Okay, so now let's say that we've got 3 separate accounts and they're not under consolidated billing. And what happens is that at 10 terabytes, AWS drops the price per gigabyte for S3 down a few pennies. And they keep doing that. So like when you hit 100 terabytes, they drop the pennies down again. When you hit, 500 terabytes, they drop it down again. It's like, there's like breakpoints where every time you consume that much storage, they drop the price per gigabyte for that like level of storage. Well, here, none of these accounts by themselves cross the 10 terabyte barrier. So they're all going to get charged the maximum price. But if you put them under a management account, the combined total is actually 14 terabytes. And when it gets billed to the management account, you're going to have a higher price for 10 and a lower price for 4. So that's, by the way, how that company that I worked for saved all that money, millions of dollars, 7 million to be exact, simply because we turned on account consolidation, right? We just put them in an organization and all of a sudden they got consolidated billing. So it's just that easy. And by the way, that happens for you automatically. You don't have to turn anything on. You definitely don't want to turn anything off, but it happens for you the minute you put it in an organization. So that's volume pricing, and that's a natural result. Now you can turn on consolidated billing without turning on organizations. I don't, honestly, just put it in an organization. You don't have to turn on organizations. You don't have to do anything with it, but I would probably put it in an organization. Okay, so here's a few pricing tools because we just talked about estimation, AWS calculator, that kind of thing. Well, we talked about budgets already, so you saw me put thresholds inside my account. I got to tell you, if you're running your own account, which I highly recommend that you all do, please do not use your Booz Allen Hamilton email address to do that. You will get a call from the security team. They're going to be nice about it, but they're going to say, hey, what billing code is this attached to? Did you have authorization to do this? Don't do that. Use your own personal account to set up your an AWS account. And by the way, just don't leave anything running and you're not going to pay anything. You just saw my account, and I actually professionally work as a demonstrator for AWS. Yeah, just don't leave anything running. You'll be fine. By the way, even if you leave something running, the worst that's going to happen is you'll pay like $5, but it'll still make you upset where you're like, right? So budgets is a tool that will notify you or even limit launches of services based on your spend. So you can set your budget for however you want to. There's all kind of budgets, by the way. There's usage budgets. There's like spend budgets called cost budgets. There's budgets on reservations. Like you want to get notified if you're not using your reservations. You can do that as well. Cost Explorer we looked at just briefly. I didn't have this colorful graph because I didn't have any services running. But what this does is this allows you to see all your spend breakdown by service. So if you want to see exactly what something looks like what your spend looks like across your account, if you have historical data in here, it'll also forecast. Now, notice that this is actually a little older because it's actually showing 2018, 2019. That's almost, 3 years old now. It's over 3 years old now. So there's been some improvements even to it since then. So just know that those are some of the billing tools that we were looking at just now. Okay. Oop. Hi. Why did you go back exactly? Let's talk about some support plans. So you may remember that I said before that if you have trusted advisor, you have to have a support plan in order for it to really function. So first of all, we all get basic support. That's free support. You get access to the personal health dashboards, very limited set of advisor checks. If you're willing to think it's I want to say it's $100 a month. You can get developer. If you're willing to pay like $10,000 a month, I think you get business, and I think enterprise is 15,000. Don't quote me on any of that, by the way. It changes all the time. Developer will get you no trusted advisor checks, and then you basically get best practice guidance, some diagnostic tools. You don't really get a whole lot for developer, but it is a support plan, right? Business will give you all the trusted advisor checks, and I think they have an hour to respond to an outage. If you use enterprise, or there's also an enterprise starter, they will respond to an outage in 15 minutes or less. And you're going to get a TAM, and you get access to the product teams. And I got to tell you, I've had enterprise twice in my entire career, enterprise guidance support plans. It's one of the best things to have. If you work for Booz, I'm pretty certain that you have an en masse enterprise support plan with AWS, but that doesn't mean that your clients do, which is a whole different thing. Again, remember this is that you have to have the business plan or above to get all of the trusted advisor health checks. If you want a TAM, if you want a dedicated technical account manager, you're gonna have to get enterprise in order for that to function. And there's a TAM. Okay, so then here's a good question for you. Which of the following is the lowest cost AWS support plan that includes all of the AWS trusted advisor checks? Like, what did I just say was the lowest one you need to get all of the trusted advisor checks? Good, that's exactly right. The business plan is the lowest one you can get in order to get like the checks themselves. Okay. So Amazon has a place beyond billing, beyond trusted advisor, beyond the support plans, beyond cost explorer, beyond budgets, where if you're like, hey, you know what, I'm really in love with Kubernetes, but I actually want to use, I don't know, Bitnami's Kubernetes, right? If you actually go out to the console and type in marketplace subscriptions or solutions, this is a digital catalog where third-party vendors outside of AWS, you can actually go discover products. So for example, let's say you love Bitnami. Now, some of you are like, Michael, we don't even know who Bitnami is. Good, that's fine. If you're not in the Kubernetes world, you probably wouldn't know, right? So for example, this allows you to get access to packages served by Bitnami. Let's say, you know what, Michael, you know what I do know is that you mentioned earlier that the WAF can pull rules offered by somebody. So Fortinet will offer rules like known bad actor rules that you can stick inside your WAF. So will F5, but notice that these are really badly reviewed. I'm kind of like wondering why that is actually. Fortinet managed rules, cybersecurity rules, right? You're like, Michael, you know what I really love? I wonder if Blue Coat's still around. Does Blue Coat get bought by somebody? No, they probably did. Let's say you love TIBCO. And you want to launch TIBCO inside your account and you don't want to buy a license. You just want to like pay them for it. you can actually either bring your own license, which is what they like list here. For example, you can see bring your own license, or you can just pay hourly for it. So this allows you to launch your favorite third-party products just by finding them out there, and you don't have to go through the headache of configuring them or setting them up. One that I used to look for all the time was Redshift, but Redshift now is a first-class citizen on Google, Azure, and on AWS. So I don't think Redshift is here anymore. I wonder if Red Hat is out here. Actually, what is it? Ansible Tower. That was one I was looking for. Oh, there's AWX. Oh, that's the open source alternative. That's pretty good. Tech latest, huh? So anyway, bottom line is that if you're looking for software out here, you can. Now, one thing that some people ask me is like, do people have Solaris? And sure enough, man, they got virtual Spark. Someone was asking me one time if you could get BSD out here. There it is. Now, Amazon doesn't support that, but just know it's here. Someone asked me about HPUX one time. I don't think HPUX even works out here. Yeah. Okay. So this is the place where you go and you can search for that third-party software that you're interested in. God, there were a bunch of machine learning apps. Is everything on AWS Marketplace trusted? That's a good question, Jacob. And my answer I'm going to give you is that it is certified to be from the vendor, but that doesn't mean that every vendor out there is reputable. So I'm going to qualify that with that. For example, just now when we were looking at, no, not Solaris, the Ansible one. I have no idea who techlatest.net is. Now, could I go out and do some research and find out? Sure. Bottom line, though, just to tell you this, is that if I don't know the vendor and I can't verify that that is the vendor's solution, I'm not going to use it. So, Jacob, you are right to ask, because sourcing is a big deal. You know, wherever you get your operating system or wherever you get your container images or where you get your code from, or particularly where you grab this, is a big deal. So I would say if you don't know who the vendor is and you can't verify that it's the official vendor, I wouldn't trust it. I'll be frank about it. I just am just that way, right? Because you can't really see what's inside these operating systems. And even with a scanner, you're not going to catch a rootkit that's buried into the system. It's just not going to happen. Bottom line, if you know the vendor, go for it. It's trusted. Amazon has verified them. If you don't know the vendor, you don't have a relationship with them, probably don't want to use their product. The other cool thing, just to say this, is that most of your security teams, by the way, are not going to let you have access to things that aren't vetted. So when in doubt, talk to them. And that's the marketplace. Thousands of products across a bunch of different areas. So, yeah. Most enterprises that I work with do not trust anybody, and they roll their own. So, yeah, that can be totally fair when security is right at the top of the list. If it's just right beneath it, maybe, I don't know. And your roles as consultants, security is not negotiable, obviously. Although the customer can negotiate it, but you can't. I know, it's the life of a consultant, right? Okay. Knowledge check. What action can a customer perform with consolidated billing? If I put all the billing together, what's going to happen? What's one of the benefits of using consolidated billing? Good. Combine usage of, wow, hold on. You ever hit the home button by accident instead of the next page down button? So you can combine usage across accounts to receive volume pricing discounts. That's exactly what consolidated billing is for. Perfect. Which pricing tool is used to visualize and understand and manage costs both in the past and in the future, if you have historical data? Cost Explorer, right? So Cost Explorer will, if it has historical data, will also forecast in the future, but that's literally what that tool is for, is to really see month by month, year by year, your spend, right? Good. Which which pricing tool can a customer use to receive alerts when their service usage exceeds a customer defined threshold? If you were listening to me talk, I might have accidentally given that away when I was talking just now. Good. Yeah, this is budgets. Okay. You want like the top of the line support from AWS. You want a TAM. Which of these are you actually going to choose if you want a TAM? Enterprise. Yes. By the way, I just got to look this up really quick because I want you to see this. So AWS support pricing. So just to see the support plans. So I just want to point out is that this is developer business, and they just added enterprise on-ramp. That's like a brand new one. They just added. This is the thing I was just mentioning to you. Notice here that they've added like different like system impaired response times, different architectural guidance. Notice that you get a pool of TAMs for the brand new on-ramp one, which isn't even on our slides, but a private TAM like for your enterprise costs. Now, here's the cost of this, by the way. And so I just wanted to check on this because I know I misstated it earlier. So you're going to spend $30 a month for developer or 3% of your usage, whichever is greater. Now, I want to point out that you have to spend $1,000 a month to beat this. You follow me? So you're going to spend $30 a month until you spend more than 1,000. Business is going to cost you $100 a month. So I grossly misstated that. It's not $10,000. It's 100. I don't know what I was thinking. Or 10% of your spend, or 7% past 10K, or 5% past 80K, and then 3% of everything, you know, just to give you an example. So at a minimum, you're going to spend either $30, $100, $5,500, or $15,000, right? Beyond those numbers, by the way, if you're spending $1 million a month, just know that you're going to spend far more than $15,000, right? And you might say, Michael, who spends that? I had a business spend $6 million a month with AWS. So it happens. By the way, it is totally worth it. They do stick to their SLAs, so they're really good about it. If you need it. If you don't need it, it's not worth it. You probably know that already. Okay, last question, or maybe next to last question. Which service or resource is used to find third-party software that runs on AWS? What were we just running around in? And I was like, yeah, Oracle, you know, TIBCO, BSD. Yeah, that's the marketplace. Good. That's where you find support for these kind of things. Excellent. That was module 8. So we learned about the free tier. We did some consolidated billing, tools for planning, estimating, reviewing costs. We learned how to limit some, notify on costs, like using budgets. We looked at the support plans, and you saw me tinkering around with marketplace. So good times. Any questions about any of these pieces?